Hello and welcome to my art vlog for September 2023. So this month I've really been trying to figure out my scheduling so I can make things happen and stay on top of everything, art, school, personal projects, all that stuff. I'm really trying to get into a habit of not over planning too much and really just listening to my motivations, but at the same time I have responsibilities and I need to plan those somewhat and accommodate for them, or else I'll fall behind and I'll get overwhelmed to the point of inertia. You have something that you have to do versus something that you want to do, and the idea of doing the thing that you want to do makes you feel so guilty about not doing the thing you're supposed to do that you just sit there and do nothing. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to avoid. And putting together a little script for myself here was really difficult. I just feel so detached from that first half. So a big thing that happened this month was that I finished off my large sketchbook. It still hasn't really registered. I don't know why it hasn't really registered. I started a new sketchbook and all that, and in starting this new sketchbook, and really whenever I start any new sketchbook at this point, I am unintentionally putting an amount of pressure on myself to make it not nice and aesthetically pleasing per se, but clean and presentable. It's been really nice having my large sketchbook be somewhere that I can be messy and impulsive, and so really what I need to do is get over that mentality of having to make presentable art all the time and just letting myself use a sketchbook as intended as a sketchbook. The other thing that's been on my mind these past few days is long-term projects. When I say long-term, I mean in the next couple months. I've mentioned this on and off over the past year. I know I put it in my January goals and stuff, but I'm pretty sure that I mentioned it in January without putting a strict condition on myself to actually complete it. For October, November, December, I would like to do a digital comic. In September, I started working on the character references. I'm really excited about it. I really am. I'm really excited and motivated to keep this momentum going, if that makes sense. I've done the sketches for the first page and I'm really amped up and ready to get started, but the problem is that I know my habits, and I know that if this momentum doesn't continue, then it will disappear into thin air. And the problem for me right now is I'm really struggling with balancing my class assignments with trying to get art projects done. I don't really talk much about my personal stuff unless it relates back to my art process. A few things are going on in my head and in my life right now. The other project I would like to work on in coming months is Early Bird as a traditional illustration series. This one I'm kind of on the fence about. A lot of this year has been working on my traditional art, and doing an illustration series aligns with the progress and the goals that I've made about my traditional art and storytelling and composition, all of those. But doing a digital comic aligns more with lifelong goals as well as storytelling. Plus, how would I phrase it? I know in my heart that I won't be able to do both, and I know that doing a comic digitally, if I can get into a proper habit of it, it's gonna be a lot more, I'll be able to put out something that is, put out some things at basically at a better pace, and they will be high fidelity. Compared to if I did something of the same caliber traditionally, it would take me so much longer. I know that for sure. I was thinking maybe for AJ, I want to aim for 1 page per week, and moreover, I really just want to build up a habit of doing a bit of digital art per day, maybe 15-20 minutes, an hour on days where I have that amount of time, and just really not letting myself fall out of that habit. Then for Early Bird, I did start thumbnails and the sketches for the first page, but I think I'll work on that pretty casually. I was thinking it would probably be really fun to do it as almost an art marathon in December, so I take 2-3 weeks and I really hyperfixate on it. And now delving into the chronological stuff. I forgot words there. So I started off this month with playing around more with acrylic gouache using the wet palette that I got last month. I looked up like a color palette setup. I was just kind of playing around with that and seeing if I should set them up in that way, practicing mixing colors, see how it worked for me. One thing that I definitely did wrong was that I put way too much paint on there. I was thinking that, oh, it's an acrylic gouache on a wet palette. This will last me forever, and I definitely won't mix too much and make it too messy and get stressed, and that's what happened. Yeah, I practiced some mixing and stuff. I did some simple like color blocking over some of my tester pages from last month, and that's kind of it for that particular session. This next clip, I made a swatch sheet for my cross palette brand. I was kind of curious how well I would do without having a swatch sheet, and the answer is not that well. I put this palette together sometime in like July or August. Really, I didn't have any specific goals with it. I was just looking at playing with some of my new paints and revisiting some old paints that I really liked but didn't use that much. Maybe whether I didn't use them on purpose or I just like had gotten in a habit of not using them. I wanted to play around with them. Yeah. So some of them I like phased out because they're student grade, like the Van Gogh paints, or there's like a Chinese white in there that's quite opaque. I'm not very familiar with it. So I wanted to play around with that one because I'm not familiar with it, especially now that I'm a lot more into gouache. I'm curious what an opaque white watercolor can do for me. And then there's a couple in there that are like just too granulating for everyday use. Is it better to say it like in order or by brand? I don't know. So I will say from Daniel Smith, I've got Sodalite Genuine, Indanthrone Blue, Phthalo Blue Green shade, Phthalo Green Blue shade, Cobalt Teal Blue, Naples Yellow, Hansa Yellow Medium, Transparent Pyrrole Orange, and Anthraconoid Red. From Van Gogh, I've got Payne's Gray, Turquoise Green, Transparent Yellow Medium, Quinacridone Rose, and Madder Lake Deep. Then from Cotman, I've got a yellow ochre and Chinese white. And then the last one is a Paraline Green from the Opus brand paints. Across like the topmost row, the one that I keep further away from me, it's Sodalite Genuine, Payne's Gray, Paraline Green, Indanthrone Blue, Phthalo Green, Cobalt Teal Blue, Turquoise Green. And then across the bottom, it's Chinese White, Naples Yellow, Transparent Yellow Medium, Hansa Yellow Medium, Yellow Ochre, Transparent Pyrrole Orange, Quin Rose, Anthraconoid Red, and Madder Lake Deep. So this next little clip, I'm still trying to weed out a few of my like art supplies that aren't really fitting my goals right now. This one is the Blackwing matte pencil, which I really like actually. It's just that I'm really heavy-handed when I sketch, and I don't really have like nice, clean, delicate lines. And also this specific pencil was a little bit stubby, so like I opted to declutter. I'm just trying to reduce my options and go back to sketching with mechanical pencils for a little bit. It's funny though, because during this specific sketching session, I really vibed with it, and I was using it how I feel that it was intended to be used, like for more precise lines, dark lines, really bold and like decisive sketching. Hello and welcome to September 2023. Today is
September
7th. It's a Thursday. I don't have that much to say in this update because most of what I've been doing has been sketching, which is in the larger sketchbook, which I will show towards the end of the video because I'll just show everything that I sketched all together. I started this a few days ago. I don't have that much to say. I'm like really having trouble painting dark skin on this paper. I'm usually pretty okay at it with watercolor. It's just that it's been a while since I've done it on paper that's not cotton, because I'm pretty sure that this journal, it doesn't have cotton paper. I'm pretty sure it's cellulose. This is just like my little swatch book, and I was playing around with my acrylic gouache and just kind of seeing what kind of mixes I could get with the paints that I have. I don't really remember what I showed of this. I don't know if it's visible. What was I gonna say? I actually really like how this first like impulsive layer turned out, and then I also did the sketch for the back of it. So front is a location, or like a location composition, a scene basically. And the second one is a skull that kind of goes with it. So this first side is Lighthouse, and then the next one is Lover Lost at Sea, which is a little bit grim, but you know, I'm painting skulls, it's gonna be grim. And the reason I remembered that I thought of it in March or April is because April's when my grandmother passed. Anyways, let's move on. I had to go to the hospital today for a test, and it was about an hour transit there. And then, so I figured I'd kind of make the most of it while I was in the area and go to Granville, kind of do some photography if I could, try some like urban sketching. And I was in quite a rush this morning, so I didn't grab everything, and I'm like, I don't feel like lugging a camera around. I don't feel like carrying a backpack with me. So I just threw a bunch of like travel watercolor supplies that I had laid out the night before. And what I ended up, just because I haven't done a lot of urban sketching, so I don't know, you know, in the moment, what would I need, what would I actually use, what would be useful, what would just kind of take up space. But I never really finished this because I wanted it to be a travel journal. So with my watercolor pencils that I got, those are some of the things that I packed. So I did this little thing while I was waiting in the hospital waiting area. It was just the view from the hospital window, so that's what I've titled it. And then this one I sketched out, it was another part of the hospital. And then this one I was, I don't remember what this was. Oh, I think there was like a fire extinguisher, and oh no, sorry, this was a couch. Fire extinguisher versus couch, you decide. I'd like to kind of continue this, doing it casually, and again, not making a big fuss out of things, because that is the number one factor in all of my hesitation. Along with this, I packed a couple things. A water brush. I brought one of these pens just to kind of play around. I brought these 2 watercolor pencils. I brought some pens, which I didn't end up using. I brought this pencil, which I did end up using. I brought a color erase pencil, 2 of them actually. And I used the blue one because I'm trying to finish that one off. And actually, I didn't end up using the pink watercolor pencil either. I just used the blue one. Didn't end up using any of those. I also grabbed like a pencil sharpener. Didn't use it. Water cup thing. Didn't use it. And I was debating which of my like watercolor palettes to bring, because I've got this one which has some Opus paints, and then this one which has my Daniel Smiths. I don't know, I just grabbed this one because it's pink and cute, and I didn't end up using it anyways. So I would love to do like a day where I properly go out and do some urban sketching, because it's just fun, and it'll hopefully get me out of the house more. Oh my gosh, I've been recording for 9 minutes. I've did like 4.5 things, and I've been recording for 9 minutes. That's embarrassing. Oh, one last thing. Sketching, I'm like 5 pages away from finishing it, something like that, 5 to 10 pages, and I'm really excited because then I can start a mixed media sketchbook, which I'm like genuinely so excited about, because I've been missing it, like having a sketchbook that I can, that is like comfortable for me to physically like sketch. That's so stupid to say. Yeah, I will see you in the next update, or yes, probably the next update, because that's what the whole point of this vlog series is. Bye! Next up here, I was just taping in a couple of loose sketches into my large sketchbook, and then I sketched out the last page. I did this little library scene just based on the word last page, and that was that. It felt really like anticlimactic, honestly, and I mentioned this like during my summary. It hasn't really registered in my head, and I think that it will register once I like rearrange my desk and move this big boy sketchbook elsewhere. The same day here, I continued working on this like larger acrylic gouache piece. I refined the underpainting off camera, and then I decided I just needed to like go for it and get started with acrylic paint. And that's kind of like where this painting is still at 3 weeks later, because I haven't really felt like working on it, and I want to be in like a good mindset when I work on it. I don't want to like force myself through it just for the sake of finishing it. Hello, and welcome to everything that I've done in this sketchbook in September. Today is September 8th. I finished it yesterday on the 7th. I'm not going to do a full flip through because that would take about a million years. But I started this in June 2020, and in the past 2 years prior to this year, 2023, I really only finished about like 150 or so pages, something like that. It's kind of I'm like jittery right now, because when I initially bought this, I expected it to last me years and years and years. I did not expect to finish it within just 3 years, and I really didn't expect to have. Not only did I finish it in 3 years, but I finished majority of it just this year in the past 8.5 months, which is wild to me. This was the first sketch that I did in September. This is, I think I've got a thumbnail sketch of it back there somewhere. It's just 2 of my characters, a little idea. I'd love to do this in gouache. Over here, I was just jotting down kind of what I wanted to work on this in September. A lot of my goals like this tend to be a bit overambitious because I'm fine with failing. Something I've gotten really used to in like ideation processes and just allowing myself the space to learn. So these are just kind of targets, and they're not guarantees, right? This, I was playing around with my new mannequin thingamajig, and it just did a bunch of poses and tried stuff out. These 2, I don't know where they came from, but I really like them. I was really trying to finish off one of the HB pencils that I have. Actually, the last HB pencil that I have for now. I'm sure there's more somewhere, but I just did some hatching to fill up some space, and I don't really know what this is. I like this, actually. Because this must have been around the time that I did the sketch on the back of this one. I was thinking of what the next theme would be, and I'm thinking that I'm going to go with Ghost and then Home Without a Heart. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that because I want to incorporate a skull in there somewhere, and I don't know if I want to do a ghost skull or like a face. Maybe like a transparent skin type of thing, which would be kind of hard to do, but that's the whole point of this year, just challenging myself. Here, just some composition ideas. I like how this turned out a lot, actually. I know that I didn't start off with a mask. I'd put that because I didn't like how the mouth turned out. And then this one, I think I was just trying to remind myself to do some more full bodies. I was sketching out what I wanted my Sims, like one of my Sims' house to be, and I was looking at a few references, and this is what I came up with. So I refined it, and then well, these are kind of 2 different variations with like an A-frame, but I don't know how to build that in The Sims. I know other people do it, but I'm not that good at it. It didn't end up looking like this because that's just how building in The Sims works. It doesn't for me. Here's the floor plan for that. This one, I was watching quite a few of I'm a Wonders videos, and I just got thinking about how I can do more like detailing and clothing details. I was testing out a bunch of sketching things that I had, and I wanted to kind of reacquaint myself with my other. I'd really like to just let myself sketch normally from now on and just not think about like finishing certain supplies. I've had this sort of idea in the back of my mind for a long time about, character, like a giant being incorporated into a landscape with waterfalls, mountains, that sort of thing. I started doing this with I just started sketching, and then I refined it with the Blackwing pencil. And then this, I'm really bad at drawing characters interacting, and especially kissing, so I just took some time to do that, and the next couple pages are they are smutty, just because I was having fun. I'm embarrassed to flip the page. Should I just skip these? They're not even that raunchy, because I don't want to draw explicit things. Honestly, these were so much fun to do, to kind of place these characters in this environment, think about relationship dynamics and characters and how you can illustrate those. This composition things. I realized I was at the end of the sketchbook, and I was thinking, oh, I should probably do something actually significant, but I really just wanted to finish the sketchbook, so yeah. I quite like this, actually. I'm trying to finish off this blue color erase pencil because I've got I've got like 3 other blue ones and I like them more than this one, so concept stuff. This is a character I have, trying to put him like in an environment more, and just, it was fun. It was genuinely fun. And then this is, I thought that I was on the last page, and you know, I was doing these sketches on a separate paper and then putting them in here. So I'm like, oh, it'd be cute to wrap it up with this picture of my characters. So I went and I did it, and then I messed up the mouth so badly to the point that I had to cut out another paper from here and then put it there. But I think this is so cute. I love how it turned out, and I'm hoping that it'll help motivate me to do the comic that I have been planning to do of them. And then here's the actual last page. I just thought of the phrase last page, and I, for some reason, thought of like being a kid and being excited to books and finish books and just be surrounded by them, you know, that joy of reaching the last page, but also like, oh, the story's over. And that's it for this sketchbook. 800 pages in like just over 3 years. It's really wild. I'm so excited to go on to my next sketchbook. So here I was testing out the Fabriano paper that I got last month. I don't have any like interesting footage, unfortunately, because I really wanted to focus on what I was doing with the paintings. So you've just got the final shots here. But yeah, these were based on some references I had saved. I really enjoyed doing them. I really like how all these little doodles look together in terms of colors and certain shapes and softnesses. And I'm really excited to do like a proper watercolor piece on this not sketchbook, but on this paper. And I do intend to do my early bird pages on this paper. So over here, this is actually a digital recording. Wow, it's been a while since I've put one of these in a video, I think. Around this time, I'm like, okay, if you're gonna do this comic, you need to start it. Just do something, like literally anything, do it. So I dove in and I did some like plans for a character reference sheet. I just felt like painting her face, and that's all I did there. So this was really exciting. There was a sale on these guys. This is the Ohuhu 48 marker pastel set, and it was on sale. I think it was like, I want to say like 30-something% off, 33% off. I swatched them out on the sheets that came with them, and then later on in my sketchbook. I'm still trying to get a handle on them, but I actually do think that what was holding me back before with just the couple Copic markers that I had is just the lack of color selection that I had. That's part of why I wanted to get this pastel set, and this was kind of already on like my watch list. I feel like it has a lot of potential for like subtle variations in marker and illustration work. I've done like a couple doodles here and there, but I definitely need like a lot more practice, especially with like consideration to line art. I also want to get some like loose marker paper just to practice a little bit more without feeling like I'm wasting pages in my sketchbook, even though there's no way to waste pages in a sketchbook. So next up here, I was working on the final touches on these waves on my Lighthouse card, which it took me like 9 tries because I was just planning to wing it, and that didn't serve me well. The colors were difficult for me because they were all really like similar in value from the angle that I was sitting at, and actually like this was one of those instances where filming the process was genuinely kind of detrimental to the process because I was hyper aware that I shouldn't lean in too much, I shouldn't move the card around too much, and then later on I eventually did finish it in this session. And then I went to seal it with Mod Podge, and it got smudged because I didn't wait long enough, and I just, at that point, I didn't have the motivation to film it again. I just wanted to redo it and do it properly, so I redid the waves on my own. And I'm really glad that I did, because it was so much easier to get the results that I wanted without the distraction of, like, being on camera. All right, hello and welcome. Today is, oh my gosh, I've already forgotten. Today is September 17th, and it's about halfway through the month, so I'm going to update on what I've been doing and kind of look at my plans for the rest of the month. First of all, major update. I got a tripod. So I'm filming this right now on a tripod, and I'm genuinely so ecstatic because it just, It's already making my life so much easier. Like, I can get higher angles and I don't have to worry about knocking my camera off my desk and breaking my lens. Not that I've done that before. Definitely didn't do that. Major updates other than the tripod. I got these babies. I did film like a little section when I like first opened them and was like swatching them. I might insert that. I don't know what it's doing for editing, but I haven't played with them all that much. I'm still kind of getting used to them, but I can show a couple things that I've done in my sketchbook. Yeah, another thing, I did start a new sketchbook this month because I finished this guy. I decided to go with this like Canson XL because I've used it in the past and I remember liking it. But the thing is that I didn't really use it for mixed media things, and I'm curious how it would work with me for mixed media stuff. I did this little doodle. I can zoom in. Hold on, if I can figure out how to zoom in. Look at that, I can zoom in without having to rearrange the entire camera setup. I'm so pumped. I also did this page. Now I have to zoom out on my tripod. This is so stupid. I sound like I'm 9 years old and using a camera for the first time, because I basically am. I did this, so just swatching it out here and like a little test. And then I did these just like basic blending stuff. Yeah, I'm still kind of getting used to it and still testing stuff out. But I'm excited. I'm kind of tempted to get like a separate marker sketchbook, but I have a feeling that I'm not really gonna do like full-blown illustrations with it. So in my large sketchbook, I showed this at some point. I don't love how it turned out. I'm still kind of getting the proper feel for the sketchbook and how it works, how to kind of best utilize it. And then on this other page, the other day I started doing some like little plant studies in acrylic gouache. I don't know what it is about me and palettes, but even with the Stay Wet palette, I'm like, oh, I should try and keep it neat and organized and kind of clean. So I'm trying to finish off some of the paint in there because some of the mixes are like not all that usable, if that makes sense. A lot of them are quite like dulled down, muddied, that sort of thing. So I'm trying to use up that paint here and doing little plant studies. I've had this reference picture, it's two reference pictures of just little potted plants. I've had it in my folder for ages, and I'm glad to finally be tackling it. This I did on this, like, I grabbed this Fabriano paper at some point. I can't remember if it was last month or beginning of this month. Yeah, I'm just looking to see kind of what my options are for what's locally available. And this was my, like, tester page. I really like how this turned out. I also, like, I love how, I don't know, something about these little doodles, like, really aligns with my goals and what I like to paint these days. And then over here, I've got, like, a illustration series that I've been wanting to start for a while. It's called Early Bird. It's based off of a little short story that I wrote, like, 10 years ago, I don't know. So I've been going through, I did some thumbnails way back when I first wrote it, and then I redid some in this sketchbook, my big sketchbook, a little while ago. I'm looking at the feasibility of it, if that makes sense. So thinking about how could I pace myself? Do I do 1 page per week, 1 page every 2 weeks? And yeah, so I started off with this little sketch based on the thumbnails that I did a couple weeks back. And I was looking at it, kind of playing around with different compositions and different lighting setups. And then I did a couple different reworkings of it. And for now, the sketch that I've kind of semi-finalized is this framing of it. I think I like this one where you don't see as much of the table legs. But I'm trying to work it out in a way, because I think the problem is that I want to be able to see some of the floor, I think. But I don't know how I would do that without showing the table legs. And in my, well, this is just my swatch book. I have to meet a friend in like 40 minutes, and I decided that I really wanted to film this before I left. This is the color palette I'm thinking of. And when I was painting this, this is not like a finished version. I just was feeling really anxious, so I'm like, I just need to dive in and do something, and then acknowledge that whatever I do is not going to be the final version, just like a tester version, right? So I'm thinking that I don't love this orangey color. I think I would rather have it leaning a little bit more in Naples yellow, even just like regular warm yellowish. I want this part to be darker because there's going to be some text up here. And then I had been planning to put text here initially, like in a little bubble, but I think based on this, I think it'd be better to do it like along the sides there or around here because that's a bit more empty space. And I would like for this part to feel quite cluttered, and that'll kind of be not the focus, but it'll be cluttered to the point that you want to look somewhere else. So, like, I don't want people to fixate too much on the details there because I'm not going to be planning them out super thoroughly. Yeah, I want this to be darker, and I'd like the bottom part of it to be darker. This side of the wall should be kind of more mid-tones. And I'm trying to think about, do I want to go like realistic with how the light would flood into the room, or do I want to utilize the like blooms of watercolor? I think I'm leaning towards more of the like watercolor natural impulsiveness, but we'll kind of see how that goes. I worked on this a couple days ago. I started with like a underpainting. Again, it's one of those things where I'm like, okay, I'm feeling anxious. I just need to start. I like how it looks right now. I like the like textures of the brush strokes and all that stuff. I will be refining it a little bit more. I'd like this to be top part here. I want it a bit more like blue rather than green leaning. I'd like to really define out the clouds, and yeah, my main goal for this is kind of figuring out how to get it to look like the clouds are glowing from backlighting. So yeah, as for the rest of September, I'm trying to get a feel for school and my scheduling and whatnot. I would love to do one comic page digital and one of the like early bird illustrations every week. I don't know how reasonable that is, especially because I wanted to start last week and I did neither of those things. I was planning to do like turnarounds last week. I'm still trying to figure out like what my work schedule would be, because for me, I really kind of rely on having a pretty consistent routine. And if I fall out of that routine, like I did this morning by getting out of bed at 1 p.m. Yeah, if I fall out of that routine, I get a little bit disoriented. So yeah, I'm thinking on Saturdays to do the traditional illustration, and then on Sundays to make that more for kind of see how it goes. And then the middle of the week could be like, weekdays could be kind of more planning stuff. But that's kind of where I'm at right now, halfway through September. I'm gonna stop talking now because words are not coming to my head properly. They are not connecting to my mouth properly. And I will see you in the next update. Bye-bye.
Next up here, these are the gouache plants. I finished them later that day, and honestly, I think I was just getting sick of how messy the wet palette felt. Next up is another digital clip. This time I did Jude's face. I've struggled quite a bit with his face because, like, I'm like, oh, how feminine do I want him to look? But I like how it ended up. Yeah. Last little clip here. I had saved some, like, rose reference hair that's been braided into the shape of roses, and I found a reference that I really, really liked, just painted over that trial painting that I did for Early Bird. And partially not to waste the paper, but also because I just wanted to keep it casual in my head, if that makes sense. Like, I wanted to play around with the gouache, and, you know, if I ended up abandoning it halfway through, I didn't want to get upset about it. It helped a lot to do that on a paper that had already been used and served a purpose. And doing this piece is kind of like where it clicked in my head how acrylic gouache and regular gouache will probably be, like, I can use them to serve me better. Gouache, I feel like, is more suitable for loose and experimental stuff, and acrylic gouache for things that are more, like, planned out and things that need to be more precise. From, like, the 28th to the 30th, so yesterday, I was working on painting out the bodies for the character reference sheets that I wanted to do. It's at a point where, like, I'd like to finish it soon, but I don't know exactly what that means. I don't know how to phrase it. Like, I made these illustrations specifically to use as reference for when I draw the comic. I feel like even if they're in a rough state, I will still be able to use them as reference for the comic. For some reason, I feel the urge to clean them up a bit more and add a background and just continue working through them. I'm like, I know I probably shouldn't. I know it's fine. I can just clean it up a little bit and then make the reference sheets and then actually get started on the comic.
Hello and welcome to the end of September. Today is September 30th. It's the last day of the month. And I'm just going to dive in and talk about what I've been up to. So this month, class started up for me again. It's been a bit of a rough adjustment. I'm still kind of figuring stuff out, trying to pick my battles, if you will. And also I've been sick the past week and a half. Yeah, I'm a little frazzled right now, honestly. But yeah. So because I finished this month, I started a new sketchbook. I decided on this Canson mixed media one. I tried it before in the past. I want to say in 2017-ish. And I'm just kind of curious. I picked it because I'm curious how I would use it differently now. Because I'm more interested in mixed media things. I'm more interested in full-on illustrations rather than just one-off sketches. So anyways, here's my tester page. Just did some pencil sketches and I went over with colored pencil and a bunch of different things, watercolors, just to kind of experiment, play around a little. I was sketching and I started thinking about different, I've seen a lot of hair art type tutorials and I just got thinking about roses in hair. Some doodling and then some trying out pencil crayons. This was with this was with alcohol markers because I got a pack of alcohol markers. I've not really played with them all that much. I think because I'm I'm being weirdly precious about this sketchbook, which I don't like because it's a sketchbook. This I just swatched out the markers and I did little tester things. I think it'll be really nice to have a really quick way to play around with some colors as opposed to trying to do full-on illustrations all the time. Because sometimes you just want to throw some colors around, and sometimes you don't feel like throwing paint around per se. So, some more little doodles and whatnot. I was debating buying some marker paper. I'm still on the fence about it. I don't want to immediately give myself a billion different sketchbooks again. I really want to continue just having the two that I'm using right now and seeing whether that works for me and how I want to explore art these days. But yeah, doodle. I don't have a lot to say about all of these. My goal with the sketchbook is, I think my goal with the sketchbook for now is still to do whatever art that I'm doing with intention and really let myself follow through with the details if I can. I've also really been liking doing sketching hair recently. More doodles. I feel kind of iffy about the faces around this period, which is why I've also been doing a lot of separate sketches on loose paper. Oh, I'll have to remember to pull those out. Maybe I will, or I might not. We'll see. Because I think genuinely recording what I've been putting into my sketchbook has been a little bit, it makes me put a little bit more pressure on myself and makes me reluctant to draw something because I feel like it might turn out bad or it's iffy. I like this. This is fun. And then this is what I'm on and off working on these days. I haven't been feeling myself when it comes to drawing faces, so I just started putting some lines down and some shapes, and it's turning into a little bit of a landscape and environment concept. So I'll see where it takes me, but I don't really feel the need to rush through this. But I will say today I had the urge to do some work in markers, and because I am a clown who is obsessed with doing things chronologically when it comes to my art, I want to finish. I'm I should finish this before I move on, but it doesn't matter that much, so maybe I will end up picking up some marker paper. I don't know. My mother makes fun of me for how often I say I don't know, but she's the one who gave birth to Libra, not me. I did this like early September, just a like rough color map out of this like cloud piece I was working on last month. Yes, last month. I think I mentioned like when I was talking about my plans for this painting that I'm not going to rush through it, because I just want to like play around, and these like larger scale paintings they usually take a while anyway, so yeah. I have not touched that piece in like several weeks. I assume that's perfectly visible, and if it's not, then I will cry. This is one of my Sims. I was just doing some watercolor stuff. Like I mentioned, I didn't do a tester page in here, and I felt really disoriented, so I wanted to play around with the watercolors in the way that I would normally do that, but the problem is that it's hard to do things the way that you normally would when you've forgotten how you normally do things, and such is the case for me and watercolor portraits. On the other side here, I've had these references saved of some plants, and I'm like, okay, I want to learn how to draw different plants. And yeah, I just had some extra acrylic gouache, and I just threw it around, and it's funny because yeah, like this color palette is just so, I didn't even, like, I don't know why. I'm just kind of curious, like, how long have I been gravitating towards this color palette? Like, it is so, like, painfully obvious to me now that I can't stop, like, laughing about it. Because I don't do it intentionally. It's just how, like, is it a bad habit at this point? Is it, I don't know. That's it for that sketchbook. This guy. Oh, he's so tiny. So tiny. This is the first, like, little, and I've been referring to them as trading cards. They're not trading cards. I'm probably not going to give these away. These are mine to keep forever. Next up is this little, like, travel sketchbook that I got from my trip in Victoria a while back. I was going to say last year, but I don't recall whether it was last year or the year before at this point. I want to finish this and just kind of test around with urban sketching. And then lastly is this one. I finished this one this morning, actually. Actually, no, not even this morning, like a couple hours ago. When I was looking up the some references for that sketch of the girl with the like hair braided into knots, I just found a bunch of other I found a bunch of other references that I found really, really interesting, and this is based on one of them. And actually this block, I've got some footage of it, I believe. I plan to use this block for working on like Early Bird, which is like a little illustration series I've got planned. And I did like a tester painting for that series, and because it was a tester page, it didn't turn out that great. But I just knew that I needed to dive in and do a test page, and I did that understanding that it would probably get like covered up with something, and this is what I went with. I think that's kind of it. That's kind of it. Yeah. September's over. That's so bizarre to me. Next month is October. Probably in like, I'll do a separate like voiceover for my October plans just so I can have some visuals other than my hands gesticulating. So that's kind of it for September. Thank you for watching or listening or whatever you did. I'm really excited for October, as is I think everybody else on the planet, because October is objectively the best month. See you next time. Bye.
So then my goals for October, I actually want to reorganize my materials in my desk. I feel like I'm doing this like every single month, but it helps me kind of ground myself and reset. Plus I got some like newish supplies recently, and I finished up the big sketchbook, so it's just like sitting there on my desk, and I'd like to move it out of the way so I can, really just like reset mentally. Other than that, October goals, I'd like to, again, build up a digital art habit and continue with the momentum I've got for AJ, try to keep it going. And also I'd like to look into getting some marker paper maybe. Not sure about I don't want a marker sketchbook, because I think that the word sketchbook is going to implant itself in my head in a way that stresses me out.
but like loose papers would be a good way for me to go, I think. That's kind of it for right now. This took me way longer to go through than I anticipated, but I'm really excited for October, and I'm really hoping to do some more digital art, really hoping to make all of these things happen and not, you know, fall on the wayside. And yeah, thanks for watching. However I edited this, I hope it wasn't too chaotic. I hope it makes sense, and I hope that I will see you in the next one. Bye!